I've been building my own kingdom for everyone to see. It exists to keep me safe from harm, and it's intact to glorify me. Nobody helped me build this up. It was me and me alone. I've appointed myself as the king, and I've given myself the throne. But it turns out I'm no ruler, and I have no control. So I have decided to destroy it all. I'm tearing down the walls, kicking down the doors. Everything inside this kingdom is yours. 'Cause what I've made is worthless, and it cannot stand. Come and breathe some life into my empty, cold, dead hands. Down with the fickle king, away with this fantasy. You are the one I need. Death to the kingdom of me. Death to the kingdom of me. I should probably be frightened. This empire's all I know, but it always does more damage than good. I'm afraid it's gotta go. I know that I can't be trusted, 'cause I'm just a man. And if you hadn't given your life for me, a loser would be all that I am. You know they say just follow your heart. I'm afraid that's a load of trash. Your heart will take you down to deep, dark places where you feel like you'll never come back. So I'm coming out of the dark. This facade is I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, I woke up feeling like it might be a good day to get it done. That's right. Oh, the stadium is just like my second house. Now I'm two-tone talking, they can't shut my mouth. I woke up feeling like it was time to tighten up. Yeah, 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 yeah. I woke up feeling.
You know something? I'm just going to get right into it. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to get right into it because I've been stewing on this for days. I was going to do a video about this on the channel yesterday, but I didn't get to because yesterday was nuts and a lot of unexpected things happened, and so I didn't really get to do anything yesterday on the channel. So I'm going to make it a part of the podcast today. The title of the episode is really where I want to start. Stop making excuses for Will Levis. This fan base, man, it's like the whole Marcus Mariota thing all over again. Marcus Mariota, this fan base broke their back grasping at straws to make excuses for Marcus Mariota. Oh, it was the head coach's fault. It was the offensive coordinator's fault. It's the offensive line's fault. It's the receiver's fault. It's the defense's fault. It's the special team's fault. Just tried to die on every single hill except the Marcus Mariota hill. And now here we are, with Will Levis. And let me preface all of this by saying I like Will Levis. I am rooting for Will Levis. I think Will Levis has been much better since he came back from his injury. Yes, the Jacksonville game, not his best, but I still believe mostly that he is still the best option for 2025 unless some miracle occurs and some, Peyton Manning comes out of retirement or something. Like, unless something crazy like that happens, I still believe Will Levis is probably the best way to go at quarterback in 2025. So don't think that this is me hating on Will Levis and trying to tell you that he shouldn't get another chance next year. That's not even what I'm here to say. But we got to have a conversation about one play in particular against the Jacksonville Jaguars this past Sunday. 4th and goal. I believe it was the second quarter. 4th and goal at, I believe, somewhere inside the 5-yard line. And Will Levis drops back to pass, and Jeffrey Simmons was in the game, and Jeffrey ran a route, and it was covered. And across the field, Chigakonkwo standing in the end zone with no one around him for the easiest touchdown of the year, and Will Levis instead decided to throw it to Nick Vanette, who was clearly covered and had no chance of catching the ball. Ends up being an incomplete pass, turnover on downs. We lost by 4, 10-6. That was a brutal, awful miss by Will Levis, okay? Brutal loss. Brutal moment. Well, it's a brutal loss for the team. But for Will Levis in particular, that was awful. That play was awful. Absolutely unacceptable for him to miss that. Especially when you consider the fact that Chigakonkwo, Will literally had to look over Chigakonkwo to throw it to Nick Vanette. They were standing in the same vicinity of each other. He had to look over a wide open Chig to throw it to a covered Nick Vanette. Okay? So that play was awful by Will Levis. Absolutely unacceptable, awful. Now, is Will Levis the only one to blame for losing to the Jaguars last Sunday? Well, of course not. Is Will Levis the only one to blame for the reason this season has been so horrible? Of course not. There's enough blame. You don't go 3-10 and it's only because of one person, okay? Sportacular in the Super Chat said Callahan needs to pick his quarterback in the draft. If Levis is back next season, expect people to get fired. See, respectfully, I don't even agree with that. I don't want to go too far to that extreme of saying it's a Levis problem and nothing else. No, this team sucks. The team sucks. They're not well coached. They make stupid decisions. They commit stupid penalties. Yes, there's blame across the board, not just for the loss to Jacksonville, but for the 3-10 record and how bad the team is as a whole. Yes, it's about more than Will Levis. In fact, before the Jaguars game, I went as far as to say Will Levis was one of the elements of this team that I was least worried about. He was one of the only bright spots after that god-awful Washington game. Now, the problem here is that this week on X, ever since that play where he missed a wide-open Chigakonkwo, I have to get on Twitter and I have to read some of the most baffling posts I've ever seen in my life from people who are somehow saying that that play was someone else's fault. Trying to place the blame for that play on someone else. And I posted this week at @twotone_podcast on X. I posted and I said, listen, I cannot believe that anybody out there would think that this play is on anyone other than Will Levis. And oh, the backlash I got. Oh, well, Brad, it's a bad play design. It's a bad play call. I'm going to try not to lose my mind. How can it be? I'm not a Brian Callahan defender, okay? I think Brian Callahan has left a lot to be desired, okay? I am concerned about Brian Callahan. But regarding this particular play, 4th and goal, how can it be a bad play design if a guy is standing in the end zone wide open for an easy touchdown? How is that a bad play design? If the play did what it was exactly designed to do, which is get a guy wide open for an easy touchdown, then that's not a bad play design, nor is it a bad play call. If nobody got open, if nobody was able to get free at all, then yeah, maybe you could argue bad play design, bad play call. But when there's a guy standing there in the end zone wide open with no one around him, that's not a bad play design. That is not a bad play call. That is bad execution by the quarterback. I'm not saying you have to be out on Will Levis. I'm not saying that you have to give up all hope, but I cannot take you seriously if you cannot sit here and just say, that was awful. That was an awful miss. But I've got to hear people try and blame it. And it was the same thing a couple weeks ago against Houston when he threw that awful pick 6. I have to get on X and see people going, oh, thanks a lot, Callahan. Thanks a lot, offensive line. Thanks a lot, receivers. It's like, are you kidding me? I talked about it with Tyler Rowland on Tuesday when I had him on. I know people are desperate for the Titans to have a franchise quarterback. Every franchise that doesn't have one right now is desperate for that, okay? And I'm not saying you have to give up hope that Will Levis can be something, but there is no way that you can sit here with a straight face and try to blame some of this stuff on anybody but him. Well, Brian Callahan, blah, 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 blah. Listen, you have your gripes with Brian Callahan, and that's fine, so do I. But that 4th and goal, that's on Will Levis. There's a guy wide open in the end zone, and I have to hear people say, well, it's stupid that we put Jeffrey Simmons in the game. Is it stupid? Because there was a wide open guy. No argument that you can make about a bad play design or a bad play call, or it's stupid that Jeffrey Simmons was in the lineup, or Jeffrey Simmons was the first read and that's dumb. God forbid we expect our quarterback to go through his reads. If Jeffrey Simmons is the first read on that play, he's clearly covered. He clearly looked back to his left because that's where he threw it. And you mean to tell me that that's an acceptable argument for you? That his first read wasn't there, and so it's okay that he didn't throw it to the wide open guy who was the second read? Come on, man. I feel like I'm going crazy. Well, first down, we should have done this. Second down, we should have done that. Third down, we should have. I don't care about first down right now. We're talking about the 4th down play. Nothing that you talk about regarding first, second, or third down matters when we're talking about this 4th down play because the 4th down play was open. Who cares? Whatever you did on first, second, or third down, if Will Levis can just throw it to the wide open guy in the end zone on 4th down, then none of it matters. We score. So none of these arguments. So here we are again, just like we were with Marcus, twisting ourselves in knots. Twisting ourselves in knots to try to, every time, if you want to get trolls on your Twitter, just get on there and criticize anything Will Levis does. Criticize a read that he makes, criticize a bad throw, criticize an interception, criticize any of it, and here they'll come. Well, yeah, but what about this other play? This is another thing that happens. It's like, in politics, and I hate to bring up politics, but in politics, whenever you criticize something that a candidate does, and the only thing people can say is, well, yeah, what about when the other candidate said that one thing? It's like the only thing they have is to just bring up what the other person said that was stupid. They have nothing to offer themselves, so they just have to say, well, yeah, I might have said this stupid thing, but what about 6 months ago when my opponent said this stupid thing? It's like, it's just the never-ending saga. That's what people are doing with this Will Levis thing. And again, I'm for Will. I like Will. But as a fan base, you should expect better than for him to miss a wide open guy on 4th and goal. You should not feel obligated to defend that. That's indefensible. And so now we have people going, well, what about Nick Westbrook-Akine dropping that touchdown in the 4th? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Nick Westbrook-Akine should have caught that. What does that have to do with the 4th and goal? When somebody brings up the fact that Will Levis was not good enough on this certain play, why does that prompt you to come back with, well, what about this other play? What about this other guy? Well, you tell me. Nick Westbrook-Akine is a lower level depth chart wide receiver who's having to play a higher level depth chart wide receiver. Will Levis is who you claim is going to be the franchise quarterback. I mean, maybe I'm wrong for expecting a potential franchise quarterback to be able to throw it to a wide open guy on the easy touchdown on the goal line. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's on me. Are there other people to blame for the loss? Are there other people to blame for the 3-10 record? Absolutely. But I don't see anybody else that gets this much defense for their mistakes. It is baffling to me that he can throw an awful pick six against Houston, and the first inclination people have is to blame the coach. Did the coach throw it? And people say, well, Will Levis is not being properly coached. He's regressed under Brian Callahan. Really? Because as recent as a week ago, we were talking about how great he was playing. A week ago, we were talking about how this guy, we were certain that he was turning the corner and going to make things work. And then whenever he comes out and screws up on a couple plays, then we go back to, well, he's regressed under this coaching staff. Oh, okay. So when he does well, it's all on him. And when he does poorly, it's all on coaching. Got it. And I don't disagree with CW in the chat. Against Washington, yes, Will Levis was one of the only bright spots. I'm not here to tell you that Will Levis shouldn't get a chance to be the quarterback next season. I'm not saying that at all. But it aggravates me to no end. And we did the same thing with Marcus Mariota, as I said. The guy makes a mistake, throws an interception, misses a wide open guy, whatever. And we feel obligated to blame it on somebody else. Like, why? Why can we not just hold him accountable? We have no problem holding Callahan accountable. We have no problem holding J.C. Latham accountable. We have no problem holding people on the offensive line or receivers or people on defense accountable. But then when it comes to Will Levis, it's somebody else's fault that he threw that terrible pass. No, stop. Stop it. What's the meme of Michael Jordan? Stop it. Get help. You know? You don't have to give up on Will Levis, okay? Like, you don't have to do that. I'm not asking you to do that, because I'm not even doing that. But it is ridiculous to me that, and again, talked about it with Tyler Rowland on Tuesday when he came on. Great episode, go check it out. But there's this thing in society where it's like, if I'm going to root for this person or this entity, I now have to defend everything they do. And we see it in politics. We see it everywhere. It is now my job as a fan or as a supporter of this person or this team or this entity that I now have to make excuses for them when they do or say something dumb. I now have to defend every little thing they do. That you don't have to do that. You can admit that Will Levis screwed up on a play or two, And that doesn't mean that you don't support. That doesn't mean that you're giving up. It means that you can acknowledge and be realistic. Same with Callahan, same with anybody. I can acknowledge that Will Levis was awful on that play where he missed Chigakonkwo, just like I can acknowledge that Nick Westbrook-Akine should have caught that ball at the end, just like I can acknowledge that J.C. Latham should have blocked that guy on the last play of the first half, just like I can acknowledge that Nicholas Petit-Frere should have blocked his guy all the many times that he didn't. Just like I can acknowledge that Calvin Ridley shouldn't have run out of bounds 2 yards short of the line to gain on the Titans, one of the Titans' last drives, where Calvin could have got a first down, but he ducked out of bounds instead. I can acknowledge a bad play call by Brian Callahan. I can acknowledge when the team comes out flat like they did against Washington. I can acknowledge all of that. Because like I said earlier, when a team is as bad as the Titans are, 3-10, just got beat by Jacksonville at home in a horrible loss, it's never just on one guy. They all play a part. It's on offense, defense, coaching, special teams. It's on the receivers. It's on the offensive line. It's on the defensive line. It's on the secondary. It's on the quarterback too. He does not, we like to do this thing. We did it with Marcus, and now we're doing it with Will, where somehow we like to blame everybody else and then treat the quarterback as though they're free from blame. Oh, that precious golden child, they get a pass for all the mistakes they made because it's more convenient for us to just blame everybody else. So just stop. Just stop. If you want Will Levis to be good, you should expect better than what he gave you on that 4th and goal. Nick Westbrook-Akine, I don't know if you can realistically expect him to make that catch. I hate that I like Nick. I want him back on the team next year, but he's not a wide receiver too. We've known this for years. He's reliable. He can get open when people are distracted by Ridley or whoever. But in terms of making a contested catch like that at the end, yeah, he's probably not making those regularly. But we should expect better of our guy that we think should be the franchise quarterback than to miss wide open people on 4th and goal. We should expect better from our $92 million receiver than to duck out of bounds 2 yards shy of a first down when it's 3rd and 4. We should expect better than that. So let's just, if we're going to play the accountability game, let's play it with everybody. Nobody gets a pass, especially after a loss like Sunday against the Jaguars. Nobody gets a pass for that. Nobody gets off the hook. Nobody gets coddled. Nobody gets, caressed on the face and told, oh, it wasn't your fault. You know what some of y'all are like? Some of y'all out there in this fan base are like those parents who, like, whenever their kid gets in trouble at school, they go and they blame the teachers, they blame the principal, they blame the coaches. It's never their baby's fault. It's never their baby's fault. That's how some of y'all treat Will Levis. If you bought me a car that was a nice car and I went out and crashed it into a tree, it would not make sense for me to come back and blame you for selling me the car. No, you just gave me the car. I crashed it into a tree. That's on me. It's not on you. You gave me the car that worked and I went and crashed it. It ain't your fault. It ain't Ford or Chevrolet's fault. It's my fault. I crashed it into a tree. That 4th and goal was not Brian Callahan's fault. It was not Jeffrey Simmons' fault. It wasn't even the offensive line's fault. It was Will Levis's fault. And I like Will, and I support Will, but I am not going to hold Will to a different standard than I hold anybody else on this team or within this organization. When you do something dumb that hurts the team and costs us points, you will be called out. And I don't care. I don't care what position you play. So let's look to Sunday. Titans, Bengals. Let me ask you in the chat. I'm reading the chat. Of course, we say the Titans should lose out. The Titans should lose out. They're 6th in draft position right now. if you were to want a guy like Travis Hunter, you're going to need to jump up a few spots. If you're going to want Abdul Carter, you're going to have to jump up a couple of spots. So now that we're mathematically eliminated, are we at a place where you guys just literally want the Titans to lose? Or do you think it is better for the Titans to sneak a win somewhere? Maybe, I mean, Cincinnati, Brian Callahan's former team. Brian Callahan is, I'm 99% sure he is going to be back as the head coach, at least at the start of next season. And if that's the case, if Brian Callahan is going to be back, it would be kind of refreshing to see the team come out and fight for him. Would be kind of nice to see the team, win or lose, come out and, you know, try to win a game for him against his former team. That'd be nice. I do think that beating Brian Callahan's former team at home, I do feel like that might be good for the culture. I do. I get the draft position, especially at this point with only 4 games to go. Now we're really looking at that draft. I mean, when it's week 7, week 8, you got so far to go. But when you got 4 games left, that top 10 draft, that's really taking shape. And I'm telling you, the Titans finished 6-11 last year and they picked 7th. If they were to finish 6-11 again this year, I don't even think they'd be picking in the top 10. That's how many horrible teams there are in the NFL. Okay. So, yeah, the Titans don't need to finish that good, but, you know, winning this game against Brian Callahan's former team, I mean, maybe that would not be a bad thing. I know we're out of the playoff hunt. Everybody just says we need to lose, but for Brian Callahan coming back, especially as bad as last week was, as bad as last week was in that loss to the Jaguars, if you lose out, yeah, that's good for draft position, but man, you want to talk about going into next season not feeling good about Brian Callahan at all. If you don't win again, at least if you win a game somewhere along the way, it gives you another building block. So I see some merit in the Titans getting a win somewhere, maybe even against Callahan's former team, okay? But I also see the merit in losing because Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, I get it. And there are a lot of 3-10 teams. Some of them are ahead of the Titans. Some of them are below. I get it, okay? I get it. I get it from all sides. But I'm just saying there is a positive to the Titans winning. But there are certain guys that I'm watching this weekend win or lose. There are certain guys on this team that I am looking to next year and saying, I'm watching this guy to see how he performs this last month, starting this Sunday. And the first one's Will Levis, obviously. Will Levis needs to be better than he was against Jacksonville. I've talked about him a lot today. I need to see Will Levis continuing to play like he was against Minnesota, against Houston, yes, even against Washington. I need to see more of that so that I can go into next season feeling good about Will Levis playing quarterback. I want to see him stay healthy. I want to see him play well. I want to see him making those good throws, stepping up in the pocket, showing better pocket presence. I want to see that from Will Levis this Sunday against the Bengals. I want to see it the rest of this season. That's the first guy we're all watching, okay? But other guys, I'm going to go ahead and be honest with you. I wouldn't mind seeing Jalen Duncan get back in there at right tackle. Not because I think he's the actual solution. Not because I think he's going to get in there and play great and we're going to come back with him at right tackle next year. That would be a mistake. But at least he's young and big, and maybe he can be a rotational guy if a guy gets hurt next year and he can be serviceable. There's nothing left. There's no more life to squeeze out of MPF. That should be the motto for the rest of the season. There's nothing left for NPF. That's what the motto should be. There is nothing left for NPF. The team is cut Leroy Watson. I'd like to see Jalen Duncan get a little work at right tackle. Not because I think he's the answer to the problem, but because at least he's young and he can be a rotational guy next year if he were to improve. Another guy on the offensive side of the ball I'm watching is J.C. Latham. I mean, listen. I don't think he's been as bad as people have said. Maybe not even as bad as I've said. But he ain't been as good as he was earlier in the season. Struggling. Obviously nearly got Will Levis killed at the end of the first half. I'm looking to see J.C. Latham. Sometimes I feel like J.C. Latham, he's kind of just a very calm demeanor. He's just kind of to himself. I'd like to see a little bit of dog from J.C. Latham. We've been seeing that from Peter Skoronski. I think Peter Skoronski at left guard's been playing really well, and he's been showing a little dog. He's been showing a little dog in him. I'd like to see a little bit of that from J.C. Latham this last month. I mean, he nearly got his quarterback killed on Sunday. I'd like to see J.C. Latham come out going up against Hendrickson, going against some of those guys on Cincinnati's defensive front. I'd like to see J.C. Latham turn it on a little bit. Come on, bro. We picked you number 7. All right? Got to be better. Defensive side of the ball. Can we please put Cedric Gray in the game? Can we just put Cedric Gray in the game and let him play? I'm sick of watching Luke Gifford. Can we get Cedric Gray some reps? Can we get James Williams some reps at linebacker? We're mathematically eliminated. Can we get these young guys in the game so that maybe they can be a part of what we're doing next year? Come on, let's go. Let's get these guys in. What are we waiting for? Jarvis Brownlee, especially this week, going against Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Going to be watching Jarvis Brownlee very closely. Going to be a major player for this team next year. Keeping an eye on Jarvis. Tyjae Spears, going to have an eye on him. What a disappointing season for Tyjae Spears. I'll be watching him over this last month because I don't know what the future holds for him. And the last one I put on here is Bryce Oliver. I don't think Bryce Oliver's the next Randy Moss or anything, but maybe if he gets in there and does some good things over this last month, maybe he can be a lower depth chart kind of guy for the Titans at wide receiver next season. I'd like to see that. 32-1 NFL power rankings. Let's blitz through it, baby. This is how I see it in the NFL. The bottom 3, I had to really think about it, but I ended up going with the Giants. I went with the Giants at number 32. By this point in the season, I've said a lot I've pretty much said everything I need to say about these teams. The Giants are absolutely putrid. I put them last, but at number 31, just edging them out, I put the good guys, the Tennessee Titans. And I really had to think about this. Who's the worst team in the league, the Titans or the Giants? I really had to think, and I gave the Giants a little bit of the edge in that who's the worst battle, but it's a toss-up between these two teams right now. And then rounding out the bottom 3, I went with the Jaguars. I know the Jaguars beat the Titans. I still think the Jaguars are absolutely pathetic. I think they're horrible. And just beating the Titans does not get you out of the bottom 3. Let's get into the 20s. Number 29, the Raiders. The Raiders are pathetic, but I still think they would beat the Jaguars. I think they would beat the Titans. I think they would beat the Giants right now, based on what I saw last week. The Raiders are terrible, but, they're probably still a little better than those teams. Number 28, the Jets. Eliminated from playoff contention. Aaron Rodgers has jumped the shark for me. Just as a personality in media and everything, Aaron Rodgers has jumped the shark, and the Jets just need to part ways. Number 27, the Patriots. They were off this week, but we all know the Patriots just don't have a good roster. Number 26, the Bears. Brutal season for the Bears. Heartbreaking season for the Bears. They need to get the right coach. And it's hilarious to me that apparently the Bears fans are clamoring for Mike Vrabel to come be the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. Like, that's going to do wonders for Caleb Williams. But let me also say this. They keep sharing this clip of Mike Vrabel from last year before the last game of the season, before the Titans played the Jags. And Mike Vrabel was like, it sucks to lose. It sucks to lose. I hate it. It's awful. And they're all sharing that, like, this is who the Bears need. I'm like, do you realize the irony of sharing a clip of a coach who is sad and dejected because his team was so terrible going into the last game that he was just despondent about the feeling that he had about the team, and this is who you guys want to come be the next head coach? Goodness gracious. Number 25, the Browns. Jameis is just Jameis. He'll make some good throws, and then he'll lose you the game at the end. The Browns have some decisions to make this offseason. Number 24, the Panthers. The Panthers are headed in the right direction. I like what I'm seeing from Bryce Young. They're being competitive against the heavyweights. They're 3-10, but they're a team that looks like they're headed in the right direction. Number 23, the Saints. Whatever. The Saints are just there. They can beat the really bad teams, and that's about all they can do. Number 22, the Cowboys. They're just trying to get to the end of the year. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. I'm assuming Dak's going to be back next year, but they're a bad team. Really, everybody in these 20s. I mean, there's just some horrible teams in the NFL. Number 21, the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals have totally fallen apart. They have totally fallen apart. Looked like that division was going to be gift-wrapped for them at one point, but never mind. The Cardinals have totally wet the bed. Let's go to the other side of the screen with another team that has totally wet the bed, and that is the San Francisco 49ers at number 20. Looked like they might kind of go on a late season surge after they whooped Chicago on Sunday, and then last night happened, and they put up 6 points against the Rams. Deebo Samuel looks completely cooked, and the 49ers are a huge disappointment. Number 19, the Falcons. Also very disappointing the way things are going for them. Kirk Cousins has not played good enough to be paid all that money, and it looks like they are on the precipice of losing the division. They've got Monday night against the Raiders. You lose to the Raiders on Monday Night Football this week, it's over. It is over. Number 18, the Colts. The Colts are definitely not dead. The Colts still have a path to the playoffs, a very obvious path to the playoffs, because they've got Denver this week, who is 2 games ahead of them in the wild card race. If you beat Denver and you're Indianapolis this week, you are very alive in the wild card race, because they end the season with the Titans, Giants, and Jags. 3 worst teams in the NFL is who the Colts play over the last 3 weeks. Number 17, the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals just are an anomaly. I don't know what to say about them. They're got a quarterback playing great, got wide receivers playing great, and they're 5-8. So I don't know. 16, the Texans. And Brock P. Fan 13 in the chat is right. The AFC South is still there for the Colts, because the Texans have a rough go over these next few weeks. They have a tough schedule. The Texans, I'm still not convinced. I still don't see anything special about the Texans. They're at 16. Number 15, the Dolphins. Dolphins season is still alive. It's on life support, but it's alive. Tua playing really good football. Dolphins just kind of got behind the 8 ball when he was hurt. Number 14, the Bucks. Bucks are coming along strong. They've been beating bad teams, but they're back on top in the NFC South. They're a much better team with Mike Evans. Baker's gritty, and the team kind of follows his lead. Number 13, the Rams. The Rams are very alive. They very much are alive. I think they're a half game behind Seattle, so that NFC West is still wide open for the Rams, and I'm still saying if they get in, they'll be a dangerous team. Number 12, the Denver Broncos. They were off this week, but the Broncos, they're leading the path for that 7 seed. Lot of hope and optimism in Denver with Bo Nix. Chargers at 11. Fought hard against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs doinked it in there at the end. And the Chargers will certainly be a wild card team, and a dangerous one at that. They know how to win ugly, which can come in handy when you get to the playoffs. But they drop out of the top 10 with the loss. And speaking of winning ugly, at number 10 in the top 10, I have got the Seattle Seahawks. If there is any team who can win ugly better than the Chargers, it is the Seattle Seahawks. This is a surprise team for me, but they just keep churning out wins. They're tough. They're gritty. Geno ain't right back. And the Seahawks, they're a surprise to me. Number 9, I went with the Commanders. Commanders were off, so I had them at number 9 last week. Kept them at number 9. We'll see. They had lost 3 straight. Last time we saw them, they whooped the Titans. Then they were off. So we'll see how they close out this season. I think the NFC East is too far out of reach for them. But obviously the wild card race is very much in their favor. Number 8, I went with the Baltimore Ravens, who were also off this week. But I really think the AFC North is out of reach for them. I think the Steelers are running away with it, which is crazy to think. But the Ravens, I mean, there's just something about them. They've lost a little bit of spunk to me. I think that they have lost a little bit of their gusto. And we'll see coming back from their bye for this last month of the regular season. Maybe they can find it again. But I've still got the Ravens at number 8. Number 7, the Packers. Tough loss last Thursday to Detroit. But I still think Green Bay is going to cause some real problems in the playoffs in the NFC. Feels like the Eagles and the Lions are on a collision course toward each other for the NFC title game. But Green Bay could really screw that up. At number 6, the Steelers. They beat the Browns. They're churning out wins. Nobody's talking about them because I guess Russell Wilson and Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers are not as fun to talk about as some of these other teams, but the Steelers are playing well. Don't sleep on them. They got the experience with Wilson and Tomlin. Number 5, the Chiefs. Never thought I'd have a 12-1 team be anything other than top 2. But the Chiefs, I mean, they just feel like that heel in professional wrestling who keeps using underhanded tactics to win games, and you're just ready for somebody to beat them. And so we'll see, but the Chiefs, they tend to start playing their best football in January. So we'll see. Number 4, the Bills. The Bills lost on Sunday. Hurts them in terms of getting to the number 1 seed. They still had a chance, but I don't think they're going to get there now. But the Bills, I still think they're going to be fine. Josh Allen is just something else. We get to the top 3, and at number 3, I went with the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings they're a well-oiled machine right now. They're still alive in their division, even though Detroit is so great. Minnesota's still alive. Sam Darnold playing good football. Their defense, I mean, the Vikings are good. Number 2, the Eagles. A little friction between AJ and Jalen Hurts, but I think the Eagles, I mean, they've won 10 games in a row, I think. They're playing really good. Saquon is just unbelievable. And then at number 1, of course, the team who has been at number 1 for most of the season, the Detroit Lions. They're the team to beat right now, and they have been for quite some time. That is the 32-1 NFL Power Rankings, and now it's time to make some picks for this week in the NFL. This is what we do at the end of the Friday episodes. We make picks. Ravens, Giants. Everybody in the chat, let me know who you're picking for these games. I feel like most everybody's going to pick the same team in this one, though. The Ravens, who are a 16-point favorite. That's about as much as you're going to see in the NFL. I am going with the Ravens, of course. Probably convincingly. Ravens coming off of a bye. Kind of feels like they got a point to prove. I got the Ravens. A big game in terms of the draft. It's the Jets against the Jaguars. Big draft game here. Both of these teams 3-10. Both of these teams obviously going to be in the top 10 in April. In Jacksonville, I'm going to go with the Jets. I think the Jets... Aaron Rodgers is not playing well, but he's good enough to beat the Jags. The Jags are going to have Mac Jones again. I think that the Jets win this game. Cowboys-Panthers. I mean, this is another kind of important draft game. A 5-8 team playing a 3-10 team. If things don't go the Cowboys' way here in the last month, the Cowboys could squeak into that top 10. I'm going to go with the Panthers at Carolina. I mean, the Panthers have been hanging in there against good teams. They've been waiting to just get that win to feel good about it. I think they'll get it. I think the Panthers win this game against the Cowboys, and that would be good news for the Titans because they're 3-10. Commanders, Saints, I'm going to go with the Commanders. Commanders are coming off of a bye. Saints, like I said, I think the Saints are good enough to beat the really bad teams in the NFL, but I don't think they are good enough to beat the Commanders even at home. So I'm going with the Commanders over the Saints. The Chiefs and the Browns. This is another thing that benefits the Chiefs. Their schedule. I feel like the Chiefs' schedule has just been really easy. I'm going with the Chiefs, obviously on the road in Cleveland. I think that the Chiefs have locked up their division. The Chiefs have issues, but I feel like they are absolutely going to beat the Browns. Maybe in a little closer game than people thought, but I got the Chiefs. Dolphins, Texans, I'm going with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins I think they're going to toast that Houston secondary who's got some injuries. Tyreek Hill and Tua, I got the Dolphins. I really do. I think the Texans are going to struggle. Colts Broncos. This is a critical game for the Colts, critical game in the wild card race. I'm going with the Broncos. I think the Broncos win this one at home. They're going to be close. They're going to be low scoring, but I got the Broncos. I just trust Bo Nix a heck of a lot more than I trust Anthony Hopes and Dreams Richardson. Patriots Cardinals. I'm going with the Cardinals. I think if you are the Titans, you certainly want the Patriots to win this game, but I got the Cardinals. Yeah, they're just better than the Patriots. Even though I think Drake May is playing better than Kyler Murray these days. Bills Lions. Oh boy. How is this not a Sunday nighter or a Monday nighter? My goodness. You want to talk about potential Super Bowl preview. Bills Lions? I'm going to go with the Bills. I'm going to go Bills because the Bills, coming off of a loss, I don't think the Bills are going to lose 2 in a row. The Lions just feel like they are due a loss. They have not lost since week 2. I think the Lions are due a loss. I think the Bills are not going to lose 2 in a row. I think it's going to be a great game, and I got the Bills. Bucks, Chargers. Ooh, that's a sneaky good game. Couple of potential playoff teams. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Chargers in this game because I think the Chargers, coming off of a loss, I think it'll be low scoring. I think it'll be close, but I got the Chargers. I got the Chargers winning this one. Steelers, Eagles. God, there's some good games going on this week. My goodness. Steelers, Eagles. I'm going to go with the Eagles. It's in Philly. I think the Eagles are one of the tougher opponents the Steelers have had. I think the Steelers will struggle a little more. So I'm going to go with the Eagles to win this game, to kind of squash those locker room issues that there is rumored. Sunday night is another good one. The Packers and the Seahawks, 2 playoff teams potentially. I'm going to go with the Packers. I think obviously Seattle, night, primetime game, tough place to play, but I'm going to go with the Packers in a close one. I think the Seahawks will keep it low scoring, keep it ugly, but I think the Packers win on a field goal at the end. I got the Packers over the Seahawks. And then a doubleheader on Monday night. The first one is the Bears. This is not a good doubleheader. The first one is the Bears and the Vikings. So I'm going to go with the Vikings. It's in Minnesota. The Bears are just in shambles right now, and the Vikings are playing really well. And if things go the way I'm saying, if the Vikings win and the Lions lose, you now have a tie at the top of the NFC North. Crazy good division right there. I got the Vikings over the Bears. Great callback by Jay with the Packers playing the Seahawks. Matt Hasselbeck, we want the ball, we're going to score against the Packers in the playoffs when he was with Seattle. And what happened? Anybody know what happened? Falcons Raiders. This is the Falcons season right here. Bucks have a tough opponent. They could very well lose to the Chargers. If they do, this is your chance to save the season. Remember, the Falcons beat the Bucks both times they played them, so they own the tiebreaker. You would be tied, and Atlanta would be back at the top of the division. This is a must-win. Against Desmond Ridder, of all people, who used to be the Falcons quarterback, I'm going with the Falcons to win this game. This is it. Like, if you lose this, the season's over. You cannot lose to the Raiders on Monday Night Football. One of the worst teams in the league. I think the Falcons find a way to get a win and potentially jump back up to the top of the division because I think the Bucks are going to struggle against the Chargers. Last but not least, the Titans and the Bengals. I mean, listen. I get triggered whenever the Titans play the Bengals because it takes me back. Takes me back to the playoffs a couple of years ago against the Bengals. We all remember what happened. I can't even. I'm still not over it. I'm still not over that game. So, any chance the Titans get to beat the Bengals, I want to beat the Bengals. I hate them. I hate them for what they did to us 2 years ago. The Titans are coming off of a disaster. They're out of the playoff race, but we're going to see how much these players think of Brian Callahan on Sunday. I'm going with the Titans. I don't know why. I have no idea why. Joe Burrow's dealing with injuries. His house got broken into. I mean, he's got a lot on his mind. Brian Callahan's going to have to rally the troops against his former team. As Jay said, the Titans played the Bengals at home. Their best game of the season last year against the Bengals. I'm going with the Titans. I don't know why. I just got a feeling. I don't know why. I feel like Titans are going to win this game. I don't know if they need to. I don't know if it's for the best, but I feel like the Titans are going to win. But whatever happens, I'll be here on Monday, Lord willing, to talk to you about whatever happens on Sunday. God bless you, everybody, for tuning into the Two Tone Talk by God pod. Everybody be sure to go sub to the YouTube channel. Check out all the content there. This is the Two Tone Talk podcast where we stay way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Tighten up. Bye.